Welcome back to my show. Tonight's episode is going to deal with the TIE Defender. And I'm almost done with this. I'm on the home stretch, as I like to say, as far as construction goes. There's not much left to do on this at all before I can get to painting this beast. And the paint job should be fairly simple. Just a blue-gray overall scheme with some gray highlights, and black for the solar panels, and I think that's just about it as far as colors go. Now, what was I going to say? Well, I know I wanted to mention this. I think I told you the reason why I wanted to build this model this way, and to do, to make it to where I can shoot it from any angle. But that's not the entire case. Actually, I didn't want to tell you about this until I was sure that I was going to do it. But I'm going to be building a motion control rig. Now, anybody who's familiar with the filming industry knows what a motion control rig is. For those of you who don't, you basically mount your model on a static pole, like so, and then you take your camera, in this case represented by a Dremel, and you fly the camera around the model, as opposed to actually flying the model past the camera. This is a pretty old technique. I think someone is sure to correct me on this if I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, it was first used in 2001: A Space Odyssey to do all those tracking shots for the models, for like those big shots with the Discovery and the space pod and all that. And then, of course, it was really revamped with Star Wars. I mean, they took the idea behind motion control, which is to have a track that the camera is mounted on, and they upgraded it to have a robotic arm that the camera is attached to, which allows the camera to swoop around the model and make the model appear as though it's actually performing maneuvers as opposed to just moving from point A to point B. Now, my idea for a motion control rig is a lot simpler than that, but it still allows me to make the model appear to be moving, and I don't have to actually crank any wheels or move the camera myself. It's going to be entirely motorized, and it's basically as if I had, well, this is kind of difficult to explain, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. As though I had two bars that were mounted like so, and as the camera moves past the pivot, which is where the model's going to be mounted, they are locked onto it and always point the camera in the same direction. It's as though, it were the opposite of a man pointing a camera at a passing vehicle. So that should work in theory, and I'm almost positive that it will. But enough about that. Let's get back to what I'm doing with this. Now, I didn't show you this before, but I want to show you it now. I got the ion cannons finished, and you'll notice that they're a lot smaller than the laser cannons. The reason is that in the Star Wars universe, the ion cannon and laser cannon combinations I've seen show that the smaller cannons are usually the ion cannons and the larger ones are the laser cannons, probably because the lasers are used for destroying an object, and whereas an ion cannon is just for disabling it. So I made those ion cannons significantly smaller than the laser cannons. So that's out of the way. Now the next thing I'm going to do is try to light the cockpit. And I've got a couple of LEDs around here somewhere in this mess of a workbench. And I'm going to mount them in the cockpit today, or tonight rather. And let's see, what else do I want to do? Make the cockpit mounting system. I know I want to do that. Make the mounting system for the cockpit. And oh yeah, I did not finish up these little caps. Remember way back when I first started doing this, well, maybe not when I first started, but definitely in one of the earlier videos, I took these caps from the TIE Fighter kits, and I mounted them onto a piece of styrene tube and put some little friction pins on there. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up those tonight as well. Alright, and if there's anything else that I'm going to do, I will let you know. So let's get to lighting the cockpit. Alright, now here's what I'm going to be doing here with the lights anyway. Notice I've carved two grooves in the back here. This is so the LED can slide in like so and light the cockpit. Now let me just turn this on. Hold a battery to it anyway, so you can see what it looks like. So check that out. See the little bright spot in there? That's one of those little whatchamacallit, those those little red plastic parts that I got. For some reason though, the one up here is missing, but I can't find it, and I don't want to mess with it right now, so I don't want to have to tear apart the entire cockpit just to replace one little bitty part that no one's going to notice anyway. No one would notice. That's one thing about modeling, is if someone doesn't notice it, or if someone won't notice it, it's not worth worrying about unless you just want to worry about it. Like I kind of worried about this, for instance. Inside of here there is a pilot. He's hard to see, but trust me, there's a pilot in there. And on top of his helmet rather, is a couple of Imperial insignia, or rather they're supposed to be. I had a decal sheet of those, and I can't find it, and it just drove me crazy when I discovered I couldn't find it. I was going to use that for the pilot, but I can't find it, and since no one's going to be able to see it that clearly anyway, why would I worry about it? So I'm going to go ahead and get started on lighting this. The first thing I want to do is break out the Mighty Putty. Remember when I said Mighty Putty is an excellent way to block light? Well, what I'm going to do is, pardon me, I'm going to get these LEDs glued in here, and I think I'm going to go ahead and carve that out a little more actually. So let's see here. I think I'm just going to use my X-Acto, and I'll talk while I do this. I'm going to glue the LED into this little groove that I'm cutting here, or that I'm widening. Then, once it's in place, I'm going to glue I'm going to take this Mighty Putty and mold it to fit the LED. Now, I'm going to skip ahead a bit in this video because I want to get as much footage as I can in it, and then once I'm done carving this, I will get back to you. Alright, got it carved. Now the next thing I have to do is install the LEDs. Now this is not as simple as it may sound. You might think that normally you just glue them in there, just to get them in there. But that's not entirely the case. Because space is so cramped here, what I want to do, and because these are supposed to be in series anyway, or parallel, what I'm going to do is solder the leads together, and then press them against the bottom here, and then glue wires to them, and then the electrical hookups and so on. So let's see here. The best way I know how to do this is by taking your battery and testing them to see which leads match which match. So looks like that's not it. Whoa. Looks like that lead was a little bit bent. It's got a weak spot in it. It's making it hard to maintain contact. Alright, there we go. And there we go. Two bright LEDs. Now, that indicates that these two, that the long end on this one is the same polarity as the short end on this one. So that's the ends I want to solder together. Now, before I do that, though, I forgot one thing. got to rough up the surface. Now the reason why you rough up the surface like this is, well, for one thing, it spreads the light out so that you don't get a hot spot. At least that's the theory. And then you also want to rough it up so that you can, so that the glue will stick to it much better. Okay, got it nice and sanded. The tool I was using, by the way, is called a flexi file. I might have mentioned it in the Iron Man videos, but in case you missed that one, the flexi file is basically a metal bow with a piece of sandpaper across it, and it's great for getting round objects, very smooth. Sanding on round objects with normal sandpaper is it's not as easy on your hands as this is, as using a flexi file. So let's go ahead and get these installed. Oh, by the way, I also put some aluminum foil on the inside there to block the light and to bounce it around a little bit. So now that that's nice and sanded, I'm going to go ahead and glue it in place with the super glue. Super glue doesn't have very good shear strength, but since I'm going to be covering this with Mighty Putty anyway, it doesn't necessarily have to have good shear strength. The Mighty Putty is going to take care of that for the most part. Now I'm going to let that set a little bit, and while I do, I'm going to get the other one set up in place here. I think I'm going to test them out and just make sure that this is correct. Come on. Sometimes I wish I had three hands. Yes. We have light. Let there be light. Okay, now I'm just going to glue that one in. Okay, I think it might be best if I just let this set for a couple of minutes. So I'm going to go away, and when I return, I will, number one, turn the camera back on, and then I will solder these. I will solder these LEDs together and solder their leads to a. Well, I'm going to use this method again. Make more of these little connectors. So I'll just stop the video then.